I don't think students should be directly compared against each other, because everyone has different strengths and weaknesses. However, as far as being ranked is concerned, I think it can be a very useful thing to happen in schools, to have people put in kind of a place so people can get the best out of the education system that they can, based on the strengths and abilities that they do have.
Well, so far I haven't really seen a place for social networking in education. However, it has been quite useful for extracurricular activities. For example, our school choir has a Facebook page where the members get told about concerts and rehearsals. So it's useful in that, but it's not really useful for lessons. Technology, one of the ones I've come across at school are Apple Mac computers, and we have loads of Apple Mac suites for music and art. And as an art student, I find them very, very helpful because I tend to use Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator a lot for my artwork.
I think social networking in education is not really... I don't think they're things which should go hand in hand, really. I mean, on Facebook then there are certain groups, like for my ukulele orchestra and for my choir, which you use to communicate, like, gig dates and things, which is useful. However, I can't imagine any other way it could possibly be useful. Technology, I think interactive whiteboards are excellent. However, I do think money is often misspent on technology. Like, my maths department recently spent quite a lot of money on a bunch of Nintendo DS's and like brain training games and things, I think. But I can't imagine how that could really be as helpful as just a normal lesson, so I do personally think that was a waste of money. But in music and graphics and things, they do have Apple Macs, which are very useful for things like running Sibelius on, which is like a music writing program, and our recording studio for music is also very, very useful.
I don't think there's much place for social networking in schools, apart from outside of school. At home, it can be useful for helping do homework and revision and tracking down websites and stuff if you can talk to your friends. However, inside an actual school environment, I don't think there's much use for it. As far as technology is concerned, I'm not that great a fan. I'd rather be in a lesson without many computers and just have the interactive whiteboard and learn from that, rather than all this complicated specialist technology which doesn't really improve my knowledge. I think the best ways of determining student knowledge would be through different tests and assessments, but rather than necessarily just direct exams in the generic questioning style, I think they should be thinking of more new ways of doing them, such as incorporating games and other ways, so to make it less stressful that people won't feel pressured and forget what they do actually know.
Okay, well, in some ways, tests and assessments seem like the only way to determine student knowledge. However, really, they're not really testing knowledge, more like people's ability to cope under stress. Because when you go into that exam hall and you sit there and there's time limits and stuff, and it kind of, sometimes people forget all the stuff they've learned. So, I don't know, I think it's not really good at determining their knowledge. And I think there was a lesson I had in history where we had this test where rather than be given questions, we got to write our own questions, like ones for stuff we really know. So in that way, we are showing what we know. We're showing our knowledge to stuff that we necessarily wouldn't get asked in exams, because maybe you know loads of stuff, but it might not get asked in an exam. So
I think the obvious way to determine student knowledge, which I suppose is fairly accurate as well, is testing. However, I do think that in some ways, for some people, they are less accurate. For example, people perhaps with special needs or a processing disorder aren't going to perform as well under stress as well as people who don't. But I think just normal people as well, they're going to have problems because everyone performs badly under stress, really, most people anyway. So in that way, I think they should be limited. I was tested once every half term for most of my subjects. I found that unnecessary, and I think testing should be more for the students' sort of benefit rather than teachers, so the student can assess where the gaps in their knowledge are and how to improve them, rather than it's a bit of a teacher, why didn't you revise sort of thing, because often you did revise, you just aren't good at that particular subject. Also, I think testing in primary schools, like SATs and stuff, it's just sick, really. I hate the thought of it. There is no way to justify putting a child that young through that amount of stress. It's just horrible.